Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to my video. So does anyone still remember that YouTube community post poll I hosted almost a year ago? It had 3 select Thorium boss themes on it, and the winner was the Queen Jellyfish one, and I was going to make a video on it, but life got a bit busy for me and I just lost the motivation, unfortunately, ever since. Now apologies for the delay, but I'm finally here, breaking it down for you. So here we are in the project file of the Queen Jellyfish boss theme. I made it pretty for presentation reasons and also for easy distinction of the sections. Taking heavy inspiration from the official Queen Slime boss theme from the actual vanilla game, I utilized a bunch of brass instruments. So stuff like trumpets, horns, trombones, and it sounds like this. And in the second half where it starts building up, to add some extra bite to the brass and the overall intro section, I used the Bartok pizzicato technique on the strings. There's also some bells. And then, of course, timpani. So for the second half of the intro, to emphasize a bit more of that waltz and also another element, I added some violins doing some spiccatos. And of course, to drive us the rhythm, I'll show you a bit of the drums. It might not seem like much, but this is the kick. And then ever so often, it's also able to do this. So in the second half, I've added these hi-hats to give us a bit more momentum. It's just very 8-bit and bit-crushed and everything. And also, I used a bunch of synths. Of course, it's a Terraria track. It's gonna be blip-bloppy and everything. Now, there's not a whole lot. There's nothing at all in the first half, but here, you can hear it in the second half. Now, of course, it's not a Terraria track without a bit of that beautiful chiptune. This one's an arpeggio. Square, of course. I also have these chords. And also some more brass, but synth. And then we have whatever this is, serving as a sort of melody. And that's the synth section. Here's also a bunch of like random effects and stuff, including water-related and bubbly sounds. Check this out. Nothing crazy. Now before I want to move on, I want to talk a bit more about this style of music, or the general idea of it. I call this the vanilla Terraria style music because that is essentially the soundtrack that Scott Lloyd Shelley has made for the original game, and I love it a lot because of its unique style. The general idea, I think of it, is the fact that it uses orchestral in combination of synthesizers and chiptune in a way that is kind of unconventional, as well as the idea of the sections and arrangement is kind of unique because it's usually the case that no section is the same. Sometimes it could, reuse a similar section, but there will be a bit of a difference usually. But in most tracks, no section is going to be the same. It's going to be different each and every time. So if you ever want to make some Terraria music, you can keep all of this in mind. I also want to throw in some specific suggestions, like you can try utilizing bitcrushing and downsampling for some of your sounds, but please do it in moderation and such. So again, in summary, Terraria style is a combination of orchestral, synthesizers, chiptune, and all that. Anyways, let's move on to the next section. So now in the next section, after the intro, there's going to be this waltz, and it generally sounds like this. The whole thing is mostly carried by this synth right here. And this one is basically emphasizing the general waltziness of this track. And if it wasn't obvious, we're at 3/4, and I'm committing very hard to that. There's also these noticeable accents and embellishments thanks to our violins. And tiny brass outbursts. And also, we have our drums. Oh yeah, I can't forget about this synth. And after all of that, the next section is also a waltz, but intense. And in this part, I introduce a melody. It's a bit mischievous and kind of cool. And now the brass has also come into the section, making it intense. As for the drums, there's a bit more going on. Also, I haven't really addressed this one, but throughout the track, there's also this thing with the bubbles and stuff. Yep, of course, this is an ocean boss. I need to add watery, bubbly sounds. I'm obligated. Now, this incoming section is actually just the intro, but different. You'll hear why. Now, of course, our brass is gonna be the same. Now, a new addition I've added mainly to this section is gonna be this 808 sound, but distorted. Very crunchy. You also have this thing that wobbles downward. So we have an arpeggio. These chords. Same as before, we have some brass. But then this instrument right here, the square, has a bit of that extra embellishment. So throughout this section is also going to be this water drop sound turned into an arpeggio. It's not the most noticeable thing, but it's there. This is also the drums, nothing special here, so I'll show this one. And that's a sort of foreshadowing to the climactic section. And that's about it, nothing too much crazy here, but then we have the build-up. This is the part where the bass goes a bit crazy. Rise. And also, the orchestral section just goes. And also the bubbles just go. Okay, that just sounds really cool. And also the drums. The kick doesn't seem to do much until... Yep, wub, but rise. A highlight for this section is going to be this cymbal sound, which is actually a sample from the K-On! Anime and its first opening. I just thought it'd be kind of fun if I just sample it, and my goodness, it kind of works to the track. So, and here we are, the final section, the climax. So let's break it down. First, here are the drums. Now the kick, interestingly enough, is actually being like its own bass in a way. Take a listen. And then we also have like a dedicated like drums and everything. So it's mostly just samples that I just downsampled and bit crushed. So there's also this like hi-hat sound. This one pitches up and down. Of course, we still have that that sampled cymbal. It just works. And here's the orchestral section. Doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot until, of course, toward the end. Here's our brass. And that's when it loops. However, over here, it's the synths that do the heavy lifting. Here's the bubbly square sound. And here it is again. It has a bit more of that blippy sound and stuff. We also have square, of course. Following the same exact melody, but higher. And very slidey. And we also have these arpeggio stuff. This thing is kind of a chiptune staple where you, instead of using like a polyphonic chord, it's an arpeggio that's very fast, which kind of gives you the illusion that it sounds like a chord, even though it's a very fast arpeggio. And of course, I wouldn't forget about the heavy distorted 808 bass. Oh yeah, I should also mention this. I kind of forgot this in the build-up. There's also this sound that's just really cool, filtered, and downsampled, bit crushed everything. It's just really good. So that's it, everyone. That's the project breakdown of my track in Over Your Head, the boss theme of the Queen Jellyfish for Terraria Thorium mod. I didn't want to go into the super intricate detail on every pattern, sound effect, and whatever because I didn't want to make the video super long or whatever. Though, if anyone needs like recommendations and stuff on like what I use or what could you use or what techniques and whatever, like VSTs and stuff, I may drop them in the description. So please check it out. Also, if this video gets like, I don't know, past 50 or 100 likes, I'll drop the project file for y'all and you can just check it out if you want. Anyways, hope you have learned something, especially those who may want to get into this style of music. I may probably do one of these breakdowns in another future video if I feel like it sometime. And yeah, here's the track.